Mrs. Garrett?
Here.
Mrs. Hess?
Here.
Mr. Holdren?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mrs. Stone?
Here.
Mr. Tadolini?
Here.
Mr. Chart?
Here. We have a quorum. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
So moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett?
Aye.
Mrs. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Holdren?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
Mr. Tadolini?
Aye.
Mr. Chart?
Aye. Motion carries. Next item of business, consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett?
Aye.
Mrs. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Holdren?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mrs. Stone?
Aye.
Mr. Tadolini?
Aye.
Mr. Chart?
Aye. Motion carries. Next item of business would be celebrations. Mrs. Cody, you do have a good list of
We
celebrations.
do have some celebrations, and so we had, as you can see on the screen, several students qualify for state wrestling. So just appreciate our wrestling program. We have a strong tradition. I was very sad to miss it. We went to a board conference, a class board conference, and so as great as that was, I also missed attending Saturday state wrestling. But we did have Austin Lay, who got second place, so good job to Austin. And then Richie Bruno he received his third state championship, so that's huge, and received the 3A Wrestler of the Year, so that was fantastic. So a huge congratulations to our high school wrestling program. Another shout out is to Eric Rico. He, with our Brush High School basketball team, he is the first Brush beat digger in over 20 years to record over 100 assists in back-to-back seasons. And he currently leads our conference in assists per game. And then at our Brush High School music department, Anthony Lopez was selected to perform at the Northern Colorado Combined Leader Honor Band. So congratulations to Anthony as well.
Very cool.
Do any board members have any other celebrations to share? Very good. We'll move on to next item of business of the DAC report. Mrs. Bollinger, would you assume that's why you're here?
At our last DAC meeting, we focused this year a lot on the parent engagement policy, so we spent a lot of time reviewing that, going over the rights and responsibilities, and ultimately recommended that to move forward. We also had the Curriculum Council brought to us several recommendations for this year, which we ended up recommending everything that they had brought to us, which there weren't very many this year, just a few, so that was good. We don't have another budget subcommittee scheduled as of yet, but we did have a couple meetings and we've discussed that. We talked about that at our DAC meeting quite a bit. We encouraged a lot of community members with the budget cuts to either come to DAC, come to you all, come to us that are on the subcommittee if they have questions. That was kind of the focus, was just the clarity and the transparency, making sure that if people had questions or issues, as a DAC we're here, as a board you're here to answer them. So we just kind of focused on that. A lot of us have talked to individual staff and community members quite a bit. And my message is just if I know, I'll tell you. If I don't know, let's ask. Transparency is the best thing. And I think that's just about, that was it. That was most of our focus on that. And just having a unified message so everyone was clear on where the cuts were coming from and why.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And as a follow-up from the DAC meeting, I did send out a follow-up email to the entire staff on budget cuts. So I appreciate that feedback too.
Does anyone have any questions? Thanks for doing that work. That discussion is really important. Transparency is huge, and the more people we have sharing that message, the better.
I think that was the focus, because I know it's a lot of work, just sitting on the subcommittee and getting a summary or an overview, and then knowing that you guys have to go through every detail and all of that. And that's kind of why we encourage people to ask questions, you know, look into it, because what we're seeing is just even the smallest portion of what you guys have to do. So just to make it so it's one more step and one more thing one more place people can go to get some answers.
And a huge shout out to our DAC budget subcommittee, because they spent over 6 hours with me talking school finance, so.
I know how that feels.
A portion of what you guys have to do, so, yeah. So, do you guys have any questions or anything you want us to,
Just pass on the gratitude to your DAC committee for the work they're doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item of business will be financial report.
All right, Mr. Yake is unable to be here today, so I've attached the finance report in Board Book. And I'm going to share a few highlights, because he has a nice 4-page report. So the first piece is about the Morgan County Assessor. So we received an email from the assessor that during the 2025 property recertification process, a vendor software issue with them went undetected until after the final certification was completed. So as a result, the district's total taxable assessed valuation increased by $3,810, which generates about $184 in property tax revenue for the current year. Because that amount is so minor, there's no board action required. This update is included for transparency and record-keeping purposes. Also, next is about insurance coverage, budget impact, and SIDSIP, which is a property insurance and insurance broker. And with our current insurance, our annual insurance cost is $803,000, as you're all aware. The district normally budgets just over $171,000, which created a gap of $632,000. As you know, we had, and that was this year for that $25 million worth of property insurance. So, and that is a lot less than the $150 million replacement value that we need to have for property insurance. So it's showing you the coverage types, and then if you look on the second page, there's some preliminary SIDSIP estimates. And there's 2 different options. Option 1, which is on the left, and it is explained in the first paragraph, would be if you want to do $100 million worth of coverage. So $100 million worth of assets, which is what we had prior to this year, prior to some of the storm damage. You can see the estimated cost, it's approximate, because we won't have those figures until May at the earliest, possibly June. And it's estimated to be around $639,000. If you go with $125 million, it's going to be a $750,000. So you can see the difference there. And then the deductible would be the same for both at $5,000. Auto deductible would be the same for both. He recommends focusing on option 2, which is $125 million coverage, once the final rates are issued in May or June, because that will move the district from significantly underinsured to strategically protected, while also reducing annual costs. So that's something you don't need to decide today, but just be aware as we move forward with SIDSIP that you'll need to make that decision, the $100 million versus the $125 million. Some positive trends from SIDSIP is that the property contributions are expected to decrease. The school entity liability contributions are expected to rise slightly. Approximately 90% of SIDSIP members are projected to see a net reduction in total contributions overall, and they anticipate a similar benefit once final rates are confirmed. An additional deductible adjustment may produce further savings without risk if you'd like to have an additional deductible, if you want to increase the deductible. As far as the 26-27 budget update, the budget development process for 26-27 has been challenging, but is moving forward well. He states that we are approximately 75% complete and roughly 1 month ahead of schedule. Nearly all departments submitted their budget plans by February 10th of 2026, with only a few still pending. Key factors driving the budget adjustments this year include the properly budgeting for the property insurance, just like we're talking about. Our projected enrollment decline, we are anticipating continued decline, as I think districts around the state and even around the country are experiencing. The storm damage repairs and legal expenses that go with that, required payouts to employees as mandated by law and district policy, utility cost increases and salary step increases to support staff morale and offset inflation. The district has identified $3,165,878 in cuts and adjustments to date. A remaining variance of approximately $420,975 still needs to be resolved. So that number may increase or decrease as additional details are finalized. And you can see some of those items. I'm not going to read those out loud to you. The outlook is that these are significant but manageable figures. As key decisions are finalized over the coming weeks, the remaining variance is expected to stabilize. Based on current progress, the district is on track to present a balanced and responsible budget. This week I'll be meeting with a couple of principals again, just to talk about their decisions for budget cuts. And so those abolished positions will come to you in March. Okay. 24-25 audit update. The 24-25 audit is now fully complete. Signed approvals have been received from both the State Auditor's Office and the Colorado Department of Education. There were no findings in the single audit. The only noted issue is that the district's food service fund is currently holding approximately 1 year's worth of fund balance. CDE requires that this be reduced to roughly 3 months. We have a meeting scheduled to discuss that and to come up with our plan on that. One of the potential savings identified is that by obtaining an approval indirect cost plan from CDE, the district could legitimately charge a portion of our district office salaries and benefits to the food service fund. So that's what we're looking at doing. These charges would cover tasks such as monthly claims, reconciliations, payroll processing, accounts payable, food service audits, free and reduced mail data management, and so forth. This approach could save the general fund an estimated $30,000 to $50,000 per year, and staff will follow up with CDE to explore this option. So that's something that we're hoping to do. That would be district office staff, of just a portion. The district is also 100% compliant with the Colorado Transparency Act requirements on the district website and is in good standing with both CDE and the State Auditor's Office. Completing this audit required significant reconciliation work and staff effort. Overall, the district has moved from approximately 40 to 50% audit readiness the prior year to roughly 90% today. And the last piece on Mr. Yake's finance report is about employee benefits. At the next board work session, which is March 2nd, Brian Perry, an insurance advisor specializing in employee benefits, will present an updated plan options. These options are designed to reduce costs for both the district and its employees while improving the quality of coverage. Staff will have the ability to choose between 2 plan structures, an almost fully employer-paid plan with strong benefits and minimal out-of-pocket costs for employees, or a more traditional plan that includes co-pays and deductibles. Similar benefit restructuring efforts have been implemented successfully at other districts over the past decade, with several receiving national recognition and being featured as case studies in industry publications. This initiative is also expected to help reduce the remaining budget variance. And I told Keith I wasn't going into detail. I'll have him share this more on March 2nd, but he's been learning more about the percentage of increase that districts are experiencing in their medical insurance. So unbelievable increases that various entities are experiencing. So grateful for this opportunity, and you'll learn about more on March 2nd. And then he states, thank you for your continued support as we address these challenges and work to strengthen Brush School District's long-term financial foundation. Questions on that? All right.
Thanks for that, and please pass on to Mr. Yake. Thanks for preparing that report and everything he's doing for us. Next item of business, 6.2, board reports.
I'll jump in real quick off of the financial report. For the Finance Committee report, we did not meet this month because of scheduling issues. We're going to meet on the 2nd prior to our work session. just so everybody is aware of that. And I just wanted to point out a couple of things and make sure that not only all of us sitting here on the board, but our stakeholders understand some of the things that we need to read into what's coming in these reports and what's being done. I think it's of value to understand just in the report about unique ways to utilize the food service fund. I made the comment, I know, a few times over the years about I'm not interested in spending money just to spend money out of the food service fund. And so I take a lot of value in hearing that Marcia and Keith are thinking outside the box and they're looking at unique ways to comply, but to do it in ways that best benefits our district, right? And so I just want to point that out and make sure that people are seeing those positive changes when it comes to how finances are being handled and dealt with and worked with and stuff. And the other piece is that nobody likes to experience a situation of having to cut budgets, but I think what is being demonstrated through this process is a focus of kids first and being able to, work through a significant amount of money. And to this point, I can't pinpoint anything that is taking away opportunity or outcomes for our students, which is most important. And want to remind everybody, as we all grow through the process we're in, that it wasn't very long ago and there was supposedly no unnecessarily spent money in the district, is the nicest way to say it. And I think we should be learning and recognizing that what true diligence to public funds looks like through this process. So a couple quick things I just wanted to make sure that we're all gathering from this work and this report.
Any other board reports?
Yeah, excuse me. Ag Advisory met on the 17th, I believe it was, moved to. They gave their financial report, $36,265. They have some new committee stuff going on, said it's gaining traction. They thought it was right at 30 students to the stock show and said it was successful like always. Then they did go to the farm show. Not as many kids went to the farm show, 10 or 12. Doing a producer's breakfast, which was February 21st for this is FFA week, Ag Week.
Sounds like they had about 30 people show up.
They were hoping to get around 50, and that was just Saturday morning.
Yep.
So, again, the oyster fry this year is March 19th on a Thursday, to stay away from the Lenten observation on Fridays during Lent. With having to have fish, they think that'll help them keep costs down and stuff there. Then they're doing an alumni list for recognition of alumni at the Ag Banquet. So some of you guys may want to kick in over there. Thing I think I found really interesting was they have like 50 students wanting to get in the intro to ag for next year. And I asked how many they had this year. They had 23. But she did mention that they probably would have had more, but it was only offered at one time during the day, I believe. So having 2 offers opens it up for students quite a bit, but that's more than double.
And is that a middle school program?
No, that's the intro to ag for next year.
It'd be the freshman.
Freshmen.
Oh, okay.
For freshmen, so. And I think that's about it.
Good, thanks, Sean. Any other board reports?
Preschool Policy Council met on the 11th.
it's preschool roundtable, whatever you want to call it. They always have a good group of folks that come. All things enrollment were talked about, gathering up the new preschool, or the new Head Start kiddos, re-enrolling those that are already currently attending. There's a lot of busy work going on over there right now. Then they're sad to be losing Michelle, of course. Mrs. Suter's gonna be missed, but hopefully they can find somebody who's got as much ambition and heart for her family engagement as what she does. So she will be missed, but yeah, she's on our stuff here. The 22nd will be her last day, so. But all good things. Anai's doing a really great job with the translations and still helping with the kiddos in those classes. So it's really going well. So always a positive meeting.
Any other board reports?
Water share, water report, whatever you wanna call it. Believe it or not, both ditch meetings landed on sale days, so thank you, Marcia, for attending the Morgan Pruitt meeting in my absence, and thank you, Jason, for attending the Upper Platte and Beaver meeting in my absence. Seems like you gotta throw a pretty good dart to miss sale days right now. Not much to report there. I apologize, I walked out of the office without my file, but no big changes anywhere. Upper Platte and Beaver assessments are the same as they were last year, set at the same level they were last year. No change in board members or anything of that nature, so nothing overly exciting out of those, which is sometimes the best thing to happen at a ditch meeting.
Any other reports?
Meeting confirmed met Wednesday, February 4th, under old business. Marcia answered some questions on portability and teachers, new hires coming in and how they are put on, what do you call it?
So like on a personnel report, you can recommend them to be they could request portability, but they have to have 3 years of effective rating.
Non-probationary status, yeah. It was a long meeting. It lasted well over an hour. There were a lot of questions, especially under new business. One of the questions was, can you opt out of the medical insurance? And it was, Marcia answered that yes, during open enrollment, employees can choose to opt out of the school district insurance and go with their own. Question asked about new insurance and when we will know more, and we just basically told them that we're going to meet in March with the representative and we'll know more then. A lot of questions about the budget. Why are we not selling the old middle school for money? It was discussed, and Marcia said it was discussed with the Board of Education to keep it as an investment property, because once you sell a property, and if you need a property for something else, then you don't have it and you have to pay more to utilize it.
Mr. Aldrich, may I add to that too?
Yes.
And also that the greatest percentage of our budget is salaries and benefits at 75%. And so if you sell the middle school, I know that you already discussed the middle school property, like that was a discussion in the past. To use the middle, even if you were to sell it, that's only a one-time cost, where salaries are a recurring cost. So that was something just to add to that.
And also, budget crisis came up a lot during the meeting, and it was conveyed to them that we are not in a budget crisis. However, we are needing to reduce the budget so that we don't become a budget crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So that was conveyed to them. If there are any more questions there, ask Marcia. Another question was asked if we were cutting positions. We should not spend money on new reading curriculum. Marcia did a very good job of conveying what needed to be said there, that when we are cutting budgets, we need to make cuts that least impact students first of all. And the reading curriculum was already approved formerly to the budget deal. And then also with the MLO that we had, the mill levy override, that was one of the requirements of that we use that for new curriculum and curriculum resources. So that was basically the answer to that. And then we went over new policies coming through. The biggest one was the parent engagement. And there were questions about volunteers coming in. They need to have a purpose, and do you want to say anything about
Sure.
that part of it?
Sure, so, as you'll see tonight, I'm introducing several parent engagement policies, which Mrs. Bollinger talked about as well, and the DAC said to bring up because they oversee that. But we took it to meet and confer as well, and there were questions about the parent rights piece. And some of those were about, hey, when do volunteers come in? They align with the school and district goals. I think that some of the questions came up, we just didn't, I don't know that there was awareness about some of the actual legal rights that parents hold. And so just clarified that this wasn't anything outside of the norm. It was just putting it into one place, what they do have the right to do.
Good.
But there were discussions about that. That's a good question.
Yeah, there were a lot of questions on that. I don't know where. I think that was about it. Yeah. So that was the report on meet and confer.
It's a great report. Thanks, Jason. Any other board reports? I'll just do a quick report on the class conference. Mrs. Cody, Mrs. Holdren, or Mr. Holdren and Mrs. Stone attended the class conference with me on Saturday. We heard keynotes on direct explicit instruction, turnaround strategies for student achievement, key strategies to increase our effectiveness as a board member, and then we each were able to attend, there's 3 different opportunities to attend different breakout sessions. The one I attended was a CDE panel, and they provided information on supports that CDE provides to support school districts and school boards centered around student learning. I also attended a curriculum and instruction session on science and math and a student nutrition session, which was very interesting and I think will be beneficial to us as we move forward and engage in a discussion on how to spend some of the lunch fund money. Does anybody want to add to any of the sessions you attended?
Sure. I attended Robert's Rules of Order. I attended the session from the College Department of Education with President Choi. And then I attended one with the state board members. There were a couple of state board members there, and so I attended their session. So that was interesting.
Very good. Any other board reports? Okay, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Bollinger.
Thank you.
All right, so you have my superintendent's report, so I'm not going to share all of the things there, but you'll see it. I did shift which chapters we'll talk about during the March 2nd work session, so hopefully that will feel a little more feasible. So chapters 2 and 3.
How could I feel you looking at me when you're saying that?
You're just looking. And again, just a reminder that our board retreat will be at 8 a.m. on Saturday, April 11th. The Chartwells will be catering that meal. Another piece I just want to share with you is you'll notice the signage behind you and also the pictures on the other wall. That is a huge thank you to the Needham and Petty's Foundation that are administrated by the Farmers State Bank. It was because of them, so thank you, thank you, thank you. I think it looks spectacularly, and then a huge thank you to Mrs. Smith for designing it, ordering it, and our maintenance team for putting it up. So just wanted to shout them out. She just did that in celebrations and did not, so wanted to take a moment there. Under the employee section of my report, you'll see your personnel report. That is an action item. You'll also see a request for an addendum to my contract. That would extend the requirement for residency to December 31st. I do have a contract on my house. I am looking at houses, and I'm hoping we'll be set by middle of June is my goal. But just in case, it's right there. Graduation is May 10th, and we're set to close on our house May 15th. But let's just hope we jump through all the hoops and all works well. Next is about the administrative structure for 26-27. So I'm recommending that we move from a BSC principal that oversees 7 grades and 2 assistant principals to a high school principal and a middle school principal and a dean. So that is an action item for tonight. And you'll see in the personnel report that I've talked to, convinced, begged Mr. Singley at Beaver Valley to be the interim middle school principal. And part of the reason for that is twofold. One, he's an experienced principal. He did an excellent job at the work session in January, not the last one, but the January work session, where he presented all the work he's doing and that the Beaver Valley staff are doing it at Beaver Valley. He and Mr. Bass have a great rapport, so determining all the processes and procedures that they'll need to do to talk about and how they're going to split evaluations and oversee different staff and professional development. It's going to take a while to codify all of that and just to clarify that. So he would be the interim middle school principal, and that position will be opened up at the end of next year. So just to be aware of that. Any question on the employee section? As far as finance and facilities, you have an action item about third-party materials testing and inspection services. In board book, you'll see a document that explains the procurement process that NV5, our owner's rep, went through. And to get solicitations, they had 2 proposals, and this is for a TPS HVAC.
I think it's
That's part of it.
important to note there too that the expenses for third-party testing will fall within the BEST grant budget that we've already established.
Correct, it is a component of the grant. Exactly. The next piece is an estimate for the windows at Thompson Primary School. So we're replacing the HVAC through the BEST grant, we're replacing the roof through the storm damage claim. We'd like to finish up that building by going ahead and moving forward with the windows. Now, you have in hard copy in front of you the quote for the decision that you need to make. I want to start off by saying, if you don't feel comfortable making a decision tonight, you just don't need to make a motion. It can be tabled for a later board meeting. Please don't feel pressured to make this decision. It is that, hey, if the roof is being replaced and HVAC, let's put these windows on. So we probably could push it to March if we need to. But here's your choice. You'll notice also, I'm gonna pull up here because you may not have had a chance to see it because I updated it just this afternoon. So TEI, they received BBD's bidding documents this morning. They met this afternoon to review those, and then they provided this update, and I'm just gonna share that with you real quick. It's on the second tab in my superintendent's report, so if you wanna follow and read it for yourself, it's right there. But this is what he shows, that the spreadsheet costs, the retrofit fiberglass with laminated glass is what TEI says is like kind of quality, which costs $825,123, and you'll see that on that spreadsheet I just gave you. Aluminum with laminated glass is the preferred replacement at $927,596. When I say preferred replacement, you'll see in the third tab, this came from BBD, and when I asked Travis, Mr. Lefevre, for help me understand why aluminum is preferred over fiberglass, he gave this explanation. I also talked to Mr. Lorenzini, our Director of Maintenance, about his preference. He also articulated several of these elements, as well as that the addition at Thompson is aluminum, as well as the windows at the secondary campus, so just that way they all look the same. So going back to TEI, here's your difference. It's about $102,000. Here's the window subcontractor. You'll see the various bids there, and the difference. A couple of notes that they said: vinyl windows, fiberglass represent like kind of quality replacement, less the fins. You recall that those winds had fins and that it would be a retrofit. The aluminum window estimate representing the district's preferred replacement, the district being Mr. Lorenzini and myself, that's what we're recommending to you, but ultimately it's your decision. However, this is a representative of the current industry standard for commercial window replacement. Vinyl or fiberglass is not considered for anything other than residential applications. TEI stated that they'll be taking number 2 aluminum above to the insurer to be representative of current like, kind, and quality replacement, as this does not include the replacement in an identical form of insulation, namely vinyl, fiberglass, finned windows, and the associated masonry repairs that would be required to undertake that replacement of finned windows. Remember, we talked about having to remove and replace all that masonry. So going back to your spreadsheet, you can see those 4 types. Laminated, TEI feels like laminated is like, kind, and quality. Also talking to Mr. Lorenzini, laminated is necessary because that's just a student safety. If they were to break a window, you wouldn't want that glass shattering. The big decision is between fiberglass and aluminum. So I think it would be good if you engage in a discussion about which one you prefer, why, or any questions that you have. That's all I got about the windows.
This is a big ticket item with, for me, it creates some reservation at this time due to the fact that we do not have much solidified in terms of what our number is going to be for this particular element of the storm damage claim. And I had the exact same thought in reviewing this that I'm seeing on TEI's report here of the argument that like, kind, and quality is a fiberglass fin window. And we are willing to put in a retrofit window and at the same time upgrade the window for like, kind, and cost. And I think that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of validity in that discussion and that argument. But today, we don't know what that answer is or what that dollar figure difference is. And it's a big ticket, it's a big dollar amount no matter what. And if we have the ability to pump the brakes here, I think that's where I lie. With that being said, I also think that we need to put some heat on TEI and Selective to get this decision, this particular decision made. And if Selective can't come to the table and effectively hash this out and make this decision so that we can do what should make sense to everybody in the world to include this part of Thompson storm damage repair in the Thompson construction project so we can tie a bow up on that particular facility, I believe that Selective is once again demonstrating unnecessary delay. That's all.
So, I guess my question in response to that is, if we're planning on replacing windows this summer, we're running out of time to make a decision. And do we, as a board, believe that we're gonna have an answer back from Selective by the time we need to order windows for this summer?
As I understand it, please correct me if I'm wrong, but buildings by design reference roughly a 4-week turnaround for material.
Correct.
And stuff. So I believe we have some time based on the conversations I had today. We have some flexibility. Do we have a ton of time? No. But we're closer to 3 years than we are the storm.
Yeah.
I don't think it's asking too much for Selective and TEI to get this part of this whole thing resolved so we know where we're at in order to make a $900,000 decision.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, and we have somebody under contract and employed in TEI that we need to put the heat on them, and they in turn need to produce turnaround for us so that we can make
A
effective
solid answer.
decisions.
A solid answer
Yeah.
Yeah.
is what we need.
Yeah.
The thing that gives me pause is the same as Bryson, that last line at the very bottom where the carrier has not approved the increased cost of anything. Like, do we even know what they're gonna pay, any kind of amount towards any replacement over there, and I don't think we do. I would agree with Bryson. I don't feel comfortable making a decision on it until we hear something from Selective.
And I understand that we want to get Thompson buttoned up this summer within the 4-week period or whatever that they're going to be doing, or however long they're gonna be doing that. But is there an increased cost to the window part of it if we end up not being able to do the windows this summer?
I mean, if you decide to do the windows like in the summer of 2027, sometimes there's an escalation cost in materials and in personnel. What that would be, I don't know.
That's what I wonder, since they have personnel over there already doing other stuff, if this is something that needs to probably be done at the same time, so.
I think the subcontractors are gonna be totally different company, different scope of work. I don't think that, there's gonna be some impact, but probably not major when you're talking about $1 million.
We already have our owner's rep. I mean, putting it into another year then puts it all on Marcia and Jamie's plate to make sure they're overseeing it, and I don't want them to have to do that.
Just so I'm not being misheard or misunderstood, I'm not saying that we need to postpone this until 27. I
Right.
absolutely see the value in this being part of our large-scale construction project this summer at Thompson, but I don't know that we have to do it this month. I don't feel as though we have to do it this month. I've gathered that from you, Marcia, and I think the people involved there should be able to come say,
Give us an
you've got
answer.
X amount of dollars to replace windows at Thompson, and we can make a decision.
Yeah, give us an answer.
But right now, we're making $1 million decisions, not knowing if we're spending
Whose money it is.
zero, if we're spending 100,000, if we're spending 400,000, and I don't like to make decisions that way. So,
Agreed.
it's, I know this is a very large claim, but this shouldn't be this difficult.
Nope.
Agreed.
100% agree.
Agreed. So, and absolutely, you can pause on that, just don't, I would encourage you not to make a motion unless you want to move forward with that. So, moving on down the road to the next piece is wrestling mats. These will be purchased with foundation funds. This is coming from the Petty's Foundation Fund administered by Farmer State Bank, so again, a huge thank you. This is an action item. From my understanding, Mr. Felton and our wrestling coaches have had conversations because the original quote was higher than anticipated, and our wrestling coach was able to find it at a rate that was within budget. So a vendor that allowed us to bring this quote to you. So excited about that. As you know, the Petty's Foundation also has provided funds for new uniforms. We do have 3 quotes for that, so expect probably an action item moving forward on those in March. As far as any questions there. Next is our financial software. It's owned by Link. We've referenced it in previous discussions as SDS, so just so you're aware of that, so there's no confusion. SDS will have an annual cost of $10,000. Our current financial software has an annual cost of over $26,000. You'll see that in my superintendent's report. This year it was $26,789.66, so it's a much cheaper software because it's a lot simpler. Which is all that we need for a district of our size. The $5,000 is a one-time fee for transition, and then we're asking for up to $5,000 for that hourly support from Abacus. And there are people who are working with Abacus that Mr. Gake has worked with for years.
Can I jump in there right quick?
Absolutely.
Just from a finance committee standpoint, and it's not cheaper because it's an inferior product.
Thank you. That's
SDS is something that Marcia has worked with and Keith have worked with in previous positions. They know the system, they know the people involved in the system, and as I understand it, and from what we've seen on the backside of finance committee, it can't be, it's gotta be better, right? Maybe that's the only direction to go. So I just don't want anybody thinking where this is a decision being made as part of the budget cuts. It's cheaper, so we're going cheaper. It's a superior product to what we're currently using, and bonus, it's a fraction of the cost.
Exactly. I used SDS in Alamosa School District, and Keith used it in Bennett, so, and he still uses it in Agate. So it is a program that's being used across the state. And Tyler Technologies, which is our current program, may be a great financial software. I think I brought to you the realization that we had like 16 business managers in 16 years. And when we shifted to Tyler Technologies, it was when we did not have a business manager in place. And so the processes that that took place in 2011 through 2026 were just a little bit unclear, maybe convoluted, if I could say. And Mr. Miller is 100% correct. This is a need because we want our records and everything to be perfectly clean. Mr. Yake has spent hours upon hours cleaning it up so our reports are accurate, it's lined up. But in the implementation of it, probably in 2011, 2012, you can, the nice thing about Tyler Technologies, why it costs more, is you can customize it. So you can get on the back end and do all sorts of wonderful, or for us, wonky things. Very high academic word there. The SDS is simple, it's accounting. It's making sure everything is clean reports. It does what we need it to do.
Does it, does the annual cost go up? I mean, you guys have worked with it. Has it gone up?
It really is a pretty simple program. So yeah, I anticipate it staying right at that $10,000.
And I mean, has it gone up from the past minimally or?
I'd say minimally, like what I want to say, like please don't quote me and put
No,
this in the
I'm
paper, but
just-
like 8,000, 8,500 I would say back in the day. I mean, that would have been like 2020, 2021.
Well, my day and your
Yeah,
day.
like-
No,
Okay, last time I used it was
No, I
spring of
just-
2021.
you know, you guys know what you're looking at there. I just was curious if that's something you can, you know, you need to plan for X amount of dollar increase every year on it or something. So,
Not at this time, and we didn't do like a 5-year contract or anything like that. It's an annual contract at this time. Great comments. Any additional questions on that one? All right. Next, you'll see an action item, or a couple of them about, it's just a similar action item to last month, closing CDs and moving them to the Northern Colorado Foundation as you've approved in a previous board meeting. You'll also see an action item for the Che MOU. There's some language there that we needed to revise and correct, so we just want to make sure that was public and that you see that. On that note, I had a wonderful conversation with Falcon Aero Lab on last Thursday, and just appreciate all that they have provided our district. Right now, we're going to part ways at this time. We may continue with them in the future, but right now we're going to part ways and discontinue our partnership. At this time, we are hopeful and that they can continue to partner with other funding streams so they can continue to service Morgan County. According to Mark, he said he has several funding streams and possibilities to do that, so that's what's important to me. I want families to be able to access that, and it sounds like he has a way to do that. Another action item is a MOU for our IOG. That's our Interagency Operations Group. School districts are required members. This will be an annual MOU. It has been reviewed by legal. Also, then going into policies, there are 3 policies that I'm presenting to you tonight for first reading, so this is information. All 3 of the changes in those policies about the qualifications, powers, responsibilities of the superintendent and evaluation of the superintendent is to align with our current evaluation tool and my contract so that everything's in alignment. So please read over those and let me know of any desired revisions. There'll be a second reading on during our March 16th board meeting. The next policy is EBCE. This policy that I'm bringing to you is to bring in the opportunity or the possibility to have a late start. I recognize that a late start can be extremely difficult on a school and on students and on parents. So it's not something I would do quickly or easily. It's not that. It simply would be one when we have a situation that's outside of our control that can be resolved, potentially resolved by that like 7 o'clock hour. We just need that time, like when the electricity goes out, for example, to do a late start. So, which hopefully won't happen again, but those type of things do happen. The next 3 policies are parent engagement policies, and Mr. Holdren and Mrs. Bollinger referenced those. I'm going to go ahead and pull them up just real quickly. I won't take a lot of time with this because they're not second readings, these are first readings. So the first one, you'll just see our parent engagement and education. You'll see the changes in red, and just what that means. So feel free to read over those. Again, it's gone to Meet and Confer, it's gone to DAC. And so let me know if anything you would have questions on or any revisions you would like to have made, that you'd like to make in that policy. The one that was discussed the most during Meet and Confer that Mr. Holdren was talking about and talked about at DAC, but from a different perspective about the parents' responsibilities was what was discussed at DAC. Parent rights was discussed at Meet and Confer, so it's kind of interesting, the two sides. So this is a new policy, so you won't see any black font, it's all red. The rights are exactly what we were talking about earlier. These are actual just rights that parents have. It's just all put together in one place. There really isn't anything that I consider provocative in any way, but these are ways that you probably all engage with schools, and you do these things. Not all parents are aware that these are things that we do, and that they can do, and we want them to do, right? So so feel free to look through those. The responsibilities come from our Meet and Confer through our conversations last school year. It was brought to Meet and Confer last year about having a civility policy. And I talked about it a few times with the board. The Meet and Confer approved it. President Chard and I have talked about the civility policy. Where does that go? How can we make it so it actually happens? And it's not just like, hey, Meet and Confer talked about this. It would be a great idea. How do we put this into play? And so it felt like the greatest way to do it was to put it into a responsibilities policy. So this is the civility policy that Meet and Confer created last school year. So, and as I shared at DAC, it may feel funny for parents to see that they have these responsibilities, like why is that there? And what I shared with DAC and I'll share tonight is all of you in our DAC engage very well and very civilly with our schools. At this point, not all adults engage civilly all the time. I wish we all did. I hope so, right? And I hope our children, our students learn to engage civilly. This is just helping to, again, articulate what does that look like. So how do we engage as partners? All right, so that is the parent engagement policies or the parent rights and responsibilities. The next one is KBA, which is Title I. I already know one piece I need to add to this that I realized today, actually, as Mrs. Smith and I were talking. There should be a piece in our Title I policy that talks about notifying parents if they have an unqualified teacher teaching their child for 4 weeks or more, and how you are required by law to notify them. I was like, oh, it's not in our policy, so I will be adding that before second reading. I almost asked if you had any questions, but that's next month, so we'll come to those next month. All right, for second reading, you have 3 policies, the first being GCFA. Mr. Holdren referenced this one. This is the portability policy. Any questions on this one? I talked about it a bit last month, so I I don't want to restate anything that you're like, yes, Marcia, I already know.
Has there been any updates to it since last month?
No changes, great question, no changes since last month. And also as a reminder is that any of our second reading policies, if you feel like, you know what, I just haven't had enough time with it, I want to talk to a few more people, policies in second reading can stay in second reading actually indefinitely, but they can certainly stay in second reading more than one meeting. So during my superintendent's report is a great time to say, hey, I'm not sure where I'm at with this right now. So on any of second reading policies, that's an option. And then you just will take that policy out of that action item. You just wouldn't move it to a third reading.
Just take it out of the motion.
I know we talked about in the meet and confer, you were gonna ask Lacey if in frontline, there's an option to select that a new hire would like to request portability.
And I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
We will do that. And then that will need to happen for our next meet and confer and to find out, can we do that in the application process? So whether an employee, when they're applying for a job, could request portability, at least would give the supervisor, the principal, a heads up that this teacher would like to request that.
And it just came up because so many of the teachers didn't know there was even this option, so.
So this was a bill that passed in 2010. It's been around for a while, Senate Bill 191. So it was a hot topic at the time, huge, huge topic. How do you, so I shared during the first reading why this became important. I shared at Meet and Confer. I got the opportunity to be in a mediation over a portability situation, and our lawyer at that time, as a different district, was like, well, what's your portability policy? I'm like, and so she's like, you have to have a portability policy. So we put one in place, made sure our contracts showed probationary contracts and non-probationary contracts. That was our life lesson, our learning lesson from that mediation experience. And so I don't want to go through that for the second time in my life. If you learn a lesson, you learn a lesson. So it was one that I noticed we didn't have, and this comes from CASB.
Do you know if we can, from a HR legality standpoint, ask that question on an application?
I don't know for sure. I don't think there's any law or anything in the law that says you can't ask them. The law is more in favor of the teacher, in that they must request portability in the interview. If we're allowing them to request it on an application, it's just giving them a heads up, but then they can request it in the interview, but they have to give documentation of 3 years of effective ratings or student outcome data.
And we have control and flexibility over approving that portability or not, right?
You do not have, if they can show 3 years of effective ratings, you do not. There's been a court hearing on that. I can't tell you at the top of my mind what the name of that court case is, but it stated that a school district cannot deny portability if they have evidence of effectiveness. So you have to approve portability if it's requested and prove it.
But you don't have to hire them.
You could choose not to hire them, true. But I think you would want to be careful on that. I'll just put it there. Careful is the word I'll use.
That old
That's why-
adage of the best way to part ways with a bad employee is to give them a good letter of recommendation.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is if they are effective, you just want to make sure they have that effectiveness rating. But that goes back to why evaluations are important. They're so important. Good evaluations are so important.
Well, I think it'd be important. I mean, obviously, there's not a lot of ifs, ands, or buts about this. It's law required. It's been tried and it's in case law, right? That whole situation. But I think it's very important that from an operational standpoint, that it's ingrained that in those situations, we absolutely have to go above and beyond in terms of due diligence to vet any of those records of effectiveness that are provided, and probably pick up the phone and have some personal phone calls in terms of references and stuff to make sure we don't find ourselves in a jam.
And I was surprised at Meet and Confer, that it was like that a lot of teachers did not know about this policy. But they didn't, and it is an option. That was something that came up back in over 15 years ago. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move to the next one, unless there's any additional questions. The next is DAC. This policy should all be in red, and I apologize for that. It is a brand new policy to our district as well. This is again another required policy. So as we would say, this is a required policy. And what it is that, I talked about it in first reading, but if you are grant funded, they need to be notified. And if you're doing a federal grant, they have to complete this time and effort reporting, which they're doing. We're doing this. We just need to have the policy that goes with it. Any questions on that one? The last one is policy DH. This is the policy, when I introduced it in first reading, I mentioned our criminal liability insurance covers us for staff members that are running the concession stand or gate or any of those things. But our legal counsel said to include this sentence that criminal insurance would make sure that it aligns with policy. Any questions on those? All right, President Chard, that's all I have. Then you have third readings, of course. IJOC, which is our volunteer policy, E1, E2, and E3, and also our disposition policy. Real quick, President Chern,
Yeah.
on the volunteer policy, we had a great meeting. I wasn't there, but I've heard about it, that Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Kimball led a week ago today, last Monday. And it was to meet with the principals and secretaries to implement IJOC. So a big shout out, another celebration I should have included, is Mrs. Post and Mrs. Suter helped us create documents and processes to implement these policies, the volunteer policies. We went through that with principals and secretaries. I shouldn't say we, Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Kimball did, and made sure to get feedback and just help to create clarity so that if it's approved tonight, we're ready to go tomorrow.
So then if it's approved tonight, the people on the personnel report for volunteer positions have not gone through that then?
Do you want to talk on that?
That is correct.
Okay.
Because none of the forms we have not turned in the forms live.
Okay.
But everyone on that volunteer list has had a background check, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes. They just have not done the new process. They have
Right.
not filled out the new style paperwork. They've filled out paperwork.
They've all been fingerprinted and
They've
background
been
checked.
fingerprinted, all of
Okay.
that.
And they've done their reporter training?
No.
Some of
Not
them,
all of them
yeah.
have.
Some of them will, they aren't allowed to go live as a volunteer until they complete that, but they'll come before you once they get the fingerprinting. We also, like with the paperwork, we'll transition that, right, as they do that. We'll start implementing this with new volunteers.
Any other questions? Very good. Next item of business is community comment. Doesn't appear we have any this evening. And we'll move on to action items. 9.1, 2026-2027 administration structure. Is there a motion for 9.1?
I move to approve the proposed 2026-2027 administrative structure for Brush Secondary Campus, transitioning from the current model of 1 BSC principal and 2 assistant principals to a restructured model consisting of 1 BHS principal, 1 BMS principal, and 1 secondary dean.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposed 2026-2027 administrative structure for Brush Secondary Campus, transitioning from the current model of 1 BSC principal and 2 assistant principals to a restructured model consisting of 1 BHS principal, one BMS principal, and one secondary dean. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mrs. Stone,
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini,
Aye.
Mr. Turk.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item of business, 9.2 personnel report.
I move to approve the personnel report as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the personnel report as presented. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mrs. Stone,
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini,
Aye.
Mr. Turk.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item of business, 9.3, addendum to superintendent's contract.
I move to approve the addendum to the superintendent's contract.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the addendum to the superintendent's contract. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mrs. Stone,
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini,
Aye.
Mr. Turk.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item of business, 9.4, proposal for third-party material testing and inspection services for TPS HVAC.
Move to, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I move to approve the Nino and Moore proposal for TPS HVAC project for third-party material testing and inspection services.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the Nino and Moore proposal for TPS HVAC project for third-party material testing and inspection services. Is there any discussion?
Just want to point out, this was the one that we said was taken care of inside the BEST grant, so it's not actually funds we're coming up with.
Correct.
Any other discussion? No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mrs. Stone,
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini,
Aye.
Mr. Turk.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item of business, 9.5, TPS windows purchased with funds from insurance. Is there a motion for 9.5? There is no motion. Next item of business, 9.6, Link Financial Software and Abacus Financial Software Support.
I move to approve the purchase of a specialized data system financial software subscription from EMS Link LLC for $15,000 effective through June 30th of 2027, and further move to approve the quote for the related financial software support from Abacus LLC not to exceed $5,000.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the purchase of a specialized data systems financial software subscription from EMS Link LLC for $15,000 effective through June 30th, 2027, and further move to approve the quote for related financial software support from Abacus LLC not to exceed $5,000. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mrs. Stone,
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini,
Aye.
Mr. Turk.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item of business, 9.7, purchase of wrestling mats with foundation funding.
I move to approve the purchase of wrestling mats for $19,475.28, paid for by the Pettis Foundation funds.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the purchase of wrestling mats for $19,475.28, paid for by the Pettis Foundation funds. Is there any discussion?
Just like to take the opportunity to kind of shout out the Pettis Foundation and the folks involved in that and stuff. What a great foundation in our community for a number of years, and to have this relationship and partnership, which translates to opportunities and experiences for our students, is fabulous. So thank you to that foundation and all the people that serve on that board and administer that foundation.
Any further discussion? There's no further discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mrs. Stone,
Aye.
Mr. Tadalini,
Aye.
Mr. Turk.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item of business, 9.8, Bank of Colorado CDs Scholarship.
I move to close out the Anderson and Christensen Scholarship CDs at Bank of Colorado and move the funds to the NOCO Foundation.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to close out the Anderson and Christian Scholarship CDs at the Bank of Colorado and move the funds to the NOCO Foundation. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mrs. Stone,
Aye.
Mr. Totolini,
Aye.
Mr. Charter.
Aye, motion carries. Next item of business, Griggs Scholarship.
I move for Greg Scholarship to be transferred to the NOCO Foundation in the amount of $157,985.85 out of Fund 27.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for Griggs Scholarship to be transferred to the NOCO Foundation in the amount of $157,985.85 out of Fund 27. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mrs. Stone,
Aye.
Mr. Totolini,
Aye.
Mr. Charter.
Aye, motion carries. Next item of business, Colorado Homeschool Enrichment.
I move to approve the revised MOU with the Colorado Homeschool Enrichment Program.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the revised MOU with the Colorado Homeschool Enrichment Program. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mrs. Stone,
Aye.
Mr. Totolini,
Aye.
Mr. Charter.
Aye, motion carries. Next item of business, 9.11, Morgan County Interagency Oversight Group.
I move to approve the Morgan County Interagency Oversight Group MOU for 2026-2027 as presented.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve the Morgan County Interagency Oversight Group MOU for 2026-2027 as presented. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mrs. Stone,
Aye.
Mr. Totolini,
Aye.
Mr. Charter.
Aye, motion carries. Next item of business, 9.12, policies.
I move for policies DN, IJOC, IJOC-E1, IJOC-E2, and IJOC-E3 be granted final approval, and policies GCFA, DAC, and DH be moved to a third and final reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for policies DN, IJOC, IJOC-E1, IJOC-E2, and IJOC-E3 be granted final approval, and policies GCFA, DAC, and DH be moved to a third and final reading. Is there any discussion? There is no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Garrett,
Aye.
Mrs. Hess,
Aye.
Mr. Holdren,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mrs. Stone,
Aye.
Mr. Totolini,
Aye.
Mr. Charter.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item of business would be information items. So our next work session is this next Monday, March 2nd at 6 p.m. and that will be at Thompson Primary. And then our next regular board meeting will be March 16th at 6 p.m. and that'll be back here. Mrs. Cody, do you have any clarifications on anything during the meeting or any next steps we need to mention? Does any board member have any clarifications? Any board member hear anything during this meeting that you feel needs addressed in policy or needs to add to a future meeting or work session agenda?
Nothing that necessarily occurred during the meeting tonight, but I do think that as a board, we need to have, sooner rather than later, on our radar, the home rule discussion that's taking place in our county.
Just wondering.
And we need to, I believe that as a board of a public school, of a publicly funded entity, needs to probably establish some sort of direction or position and have a voice in that process in our community. So I don't know how that works into work session schedules and or possibly warrants some time during our retreat. But I don't think it's something that we want to come in on the backside of. Has big implications potentially, so.
Would you like that added to the March 2nd work session to have an initial conversation?
I will defer to you and President Chard as you build agendas and stuff where that appropriately fits. Timing wise, I know that you've done some legwork on that up to this point and maybe some brief there to get us started, but where that fit, I'll defer to you guys in agenda building.
Would you like Commissioner Malone to attend, to talk to the board, to share more information?
I think probably at some point, yes, but maybe the initial isn't the right time.
Okay.
Maybe we need to understand what you've gathered in terms of knowledge and understanding and information and have an opportunity to wrap our heads around that so that we can have a more effective meeting with Commissioner Malone. Have some questions formulated and things to talk through that, understanding that, there is a commission being put together to write the charter for home rule. And I think we need to establish not only an understanding, but a position to engage with that commission as they're writing the charter, because it's impossible for a small group of people to be able to account for all different elements of our community, entities and things in the building of that. I don't fathom that being successful. So for this to be good and built correctly, and it's all based on how the charter comes out, right? All roads to hell are paved with good intentions usually, right? And so I just think we need to formulate a plan and probably a partnership with the other county school districts in that effort to ensure that what pertains to public schools is effectively written into that charter.
Thank you.
That's great. Anybody else? No further business. Meeting is adjourned. You're just trying to get out of the book report.
I'm traveling next week for work. I've got a lot of.